those young years was fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
Jay,
fun.
you competed as a teenager too, right?
I did. It's funny though, because Chris Aceto used to brag about how great Cormier was as a teenager, to believe it or not.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the video he posted this morning, I mean, like, damn.
Yeah, man. Trying to do it, man.
So, when was your first show, Jay?
My first show was it was just a local closed gym show in Worcester, Massachusetts. I was like literally 18 and a half, I think. I started training exactly on my 18th birthday, and they told me, hey, we'll give you a free membership, kind of like the Coleman thing, if you compete in this local show. And I did the men's category because I just was so much bigger than all the teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't think it would be fair because it was just like local gym kids. And I got second to like a pretty good local competitor. And then, I linked up with Aceto shortly after that because he lived 2 hours from me. And he kind of took me under his wing. And then Lou Zawick started calling me from California. And then next thing you know, I competed like 2 weeks out from Teen Nationals at a show in New York that Chris Aceto took me to, that Laura Cravell was guest posing. And then I did Teen Nationals with Branch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was my third contest.
Wow. Branch,
And-
he was competing. How old is Branch now? Is he?
Well,
is-
he was a year younger. I think I'm 48, so I think he's 46 or turning 47. But I remember he beat me in the overall, and he was like pretty shredded as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Not a huge upper. He had the good legs, but he had one Mr. Texas, and they still had the AAU and all that. So he actually he had a good name already, and he had like strided glutes as a teenager.
Really?
I didn't have the cuts. I wasn't that experienced. I mean, even working with Chris, like I just didn't have the detail. I hadn't been training long enough,
Right. How long have you been training at that time? You were like
Well,
how many years?
So I won. It's kind of funny that Cormier is on here because this was 93. So I won Teenage Nationals. Like I said, started training on my 18th birthday. That was August of 91. And then I competed at the Teen Nationals in June of 93. So it hadn't even been 2 years. And then I flew over to the USA to watch Cormier win.
92.
He won his pro card 93. He won the 93 USA. I got a trip to California. I trained at Gold's, and I remember John Sherman, I think, won nationals in 92.
Yeah, 92.
Yeah, and then I saw him in there, and then Chris was posing with Rico and Flex, had won the year prior, right? Chris?
Yeah, okay, so Flex
Yeah.
won in 92, you won in 93.
Oh shit! So you was in Gold's Gym that day
I was in Gold's when you were posing in the mirror with everyone
with the
around.
pink,
Yeah, Glass was there, and I remember like no one
the
really
pink trunks.
no one was speaking about Cormier, and Aceto had Mike Francois in the show, and I know DeMeo was in it. So there was all this talk. Dennis Newman was on the come up then. Craig Titus was in the show. I think that guy Ken Castagnoli.
Ken
finished.
Castagnoli, yeah.
So it was a huge like hype show. That might have been the best lineup of like known people ever. So
Where did Chris go?
1 second.
Is that the what you saw? Is that the picture when you were standing in front of the mirror with your socks on? Chris?
What's that?
Is he talking about you posing in front of the mirror when you was wearing your socks?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember those pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So Dennis, can you imagine? I'm just turned 20. No, I don't even think I was 20 yet. So I just won the Teen Nationals. I went out there, like the who's who is in Gold's Gym, and Cormier's posing in the mirror. And, I'm going to watch this show. I remember I saw Victor Richards for the first time. He was attending the show, and I'd never seen anything like that in my life. And it was crazy, just to see all these guys.
I can imagine you going in there and seeing all these guys. So, but seeing Victor Richards in person, because I've never seen him in person. I only seen pictures.
Bro,
was he really that big?
We talk about like the big, you Big Ramy and all these. I mean, Victor Richards was out of this world, right, Chris? He was crazy.
Oh yeah.
For that era, like there was no one like Vic Richards. I know he wasn't cut like a lot of the guys, but dude, the legs on him were unbelievable.
I
Yeah,
remember a video, and you guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. When it was at the FIBO in Germany, when they had the whole lineup. Dorian Yates was there. All you guys were there. I don't know about you, Jay, but I know the other guys were there. It was like in early 90s. And then after Dorian Yates, fucking Victor Richards came out on that damn stage. You know the stage was real high when you got to walk up the stairs to get on that stage at the FIBO? And he came out.
That was the Weeder booth.
He came out looking like Dorian Yates times 2. And that was I didn't see that in person. I just saw the video. So it looked ridiculous. I was like, damn, I didn't know the guy was that big. The legs was unbelievable. I mean, they started right in the trunks and ended up at the kneecap. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, he had the sunglasses on.
Yeah, blue
posing
posing trunks, yes.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to get to know him pretty well, and not pretty well, but pretty much as much as anyone could, because he stayed to himself a lot. He trained. I just remember him having those 180s on the flat bench and golds and pressing that like it was nothing. And but he was. I remember he was telling me one time he was just eating applesauce and tuna was his diet.
What was his weight back then?
I'd have to say 280, 290-ish. I'd have to say around that area.
He wasn't that tall.
Easily.
He wasn't that tall, right? He was a little short.
Yeah, he's like 5'9", 5'8".
Oh, wow.
5'8".
Mr. Big. They named him Mr. Big.
Yeah. That was cool because everyone had some type of character that they were, you knew what to expect from that person. You knew what you're going to be looking for, and they usually delivered, exactly who they were. So he was just just a mammoth of a guy, and I just think that, I wish I could have saw him just, get on the pro stage and just see, take the layers down and, get on a really good diet and really see what it's about.
Yeah, I wonder why he didn't try to compete, because, he obviously, if he would have been in shape, I think he obviously would have did some serious damage.
Yeah, it was cool, though. It was cool.
Yeah. So Jay, so you walking in there, seeing all these guys, is at that time, did you already think that you're going to end up the Jay Cutler that you are today?
No, I walked in there, and you can imagine, being the East Coast, I'm like, damn, this is what California's about, right? I mean, you saw so many guys, and I guess Chris and those guys were doing it kind of as a living. I know you were working a night job, Chris, but it seemed like everyone, what I couldn't imagine is how are these people here during the day? Because coming from the East Coast, people have jobs, and these guys are here midday, and obviously there was a contest coming up. But I remember looking at the wall at the time, it was Dorian Yates, right? Was the picture on the wall with all the Olympia champs.
Right.
And I couldn't imagine up there, and I'm like, damn, if my picture ever could be on that wall, that would be unbelievable, because it was just, it seemed like just even today, being the age that I am, bodybuilding just was at a different level than if it makes sense to all you guys.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense.
It just it meant so much more, just like a magazine. If you were in a book, that was huge, right? Never mind covers. I mean, we all had our covers for Flex and whatever. And I remember just everybody contacting me being like, oh my God, I can't believe you're on the cover of books. And that was your Olympia, right? Getting a magazine cover, and just to walk in there, and Chris, you train there every day, and you saw so many athletes, actors, famous people. I couldn't imagine being in that atmosphere and how motivating that would be on a daily basis. And I remember reading the articles about Chris, how he'd have his schedule where, he'd go to the gym and he would, train, then go to the beach and he would tan, and I don't know if it was true, Chris, but I studied those books, and I said, this is how I need to be in order to be successful. And I tried to mimic those routines of as much as possible, but unfortunately, I just wasn't in that California sun, and that's why I eventually migrated west, and and then of course, all these guys became big inspirations and kind of my friends, where they supported me, and Chris always was super, super supportive of me, even though we became rivals for a certain time. It's like without them, Dennis, I mean, I wouldn't have been as successful, you know,
Yeah.
and I still credit, like, you know, you think about that when you retire, like who you credit, and it's like my list is very long.
Yeah. I mean, it takes still a lot of dedication to follow through and keep doing this for so many years. Of course, the motivation is very important, but then if you don't have it, I don't care who motivates you. If you don't have what it takes, there's no way you can do this for such a long time. You know, because we've seen
Yes.
a lot of guys, they come and a lot of them go. You know, great talents, you know, but they just didn't have it, you know. And talking about the rivalry that you guys had, because I remember we had to talk with Chris on another round table where Chris thinks he should have beat you that time at the Arnold at that one year. What year was it, Chris?
Oh,
I don't know what you're talking about. No.
What do you mean I don't know what I'm talking about? You know exactly what I'm
Hey,
saying.
no, but Jay, going back to what you said, yeah, that was my routine, because I was going back and forth to goals, before I get into the rivalry. I was going back and forth to goals as a teenager, training for the Mr. California as a teen, training for the teen nationals. And I traveled to goals. It's only 2 hours from my house, so I'd go up there and I train. I go to the beach, to get a little sun for like an hour or so, get some food. I'd lay over there where they did where they filmed the pump and iron. So I'd make sure I'm like on that side of the beach, over there by the pit, and going into the water, doing the whole thing, like just as I was pumped about pump and iron. That was my movie, and I probably watched it 100 times by now. But yeah, that was actually my routine that I used, and went back to the gym and trained, did some posing, and then I went back and had my rest and did it again the next day. But I was doing that every single day, the same routine. And then, that day that Jay said that he was in Gold's Gym, that was like one of the most iconic photos I ever taken, was during that time. Like you said, no one was looking for me to be first place in that show. I think my training partners didn't even think I should have won the show, Rico and Flex.
Afterwards or before?
Both.
Oh, really?
Because I was just like a mild mannered looking guy in the gym, but actually when I got on stage, my body would come alive. I'm not gonna surprise you or freak you out in the gym, only with my strength, because I was a strong cat. But just looking at me, probably you could probably be like, okay, he's not that big or whatever. But my frame carried me a lot, and the muscle insertions and separation, all that together, and use that with great posing style and presentation, all that together, I think got me to win. I never even lost to Francois. I beat him 4 times and never lost, but yet he had a short pro career, but he did some real good damage quickly, because he was a mass monster at the time. He was, they picked him to train with Dorian and photo shoot, and all that persona of being this big, huge guy was definitely in his favor going against myself. But yeah, I mean, I saw Jay coming up, and I did, try to give him different advice that I saw. I just by looking at his physique, I was like, okay, he has some thickly muscled guy, but I think his separation, the way the muscle is flowing on his body, I think it all be improved by, Steve Murphy, who was working on me at the time. And I also competed against Steve Murphy in '88. So that was when I met Steve. But then when I saw him,
Steve Murphy, is that the guy that does the ART?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because I've been there one time.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
he's
seen
good,
him.
man. He's a man. And I had been introduced to it as a teenager. So I've been getting deep tissue since around 1986 or so. I was already getting deep tissue done as a teenager. So you religiously got that stuff done
throughout
As
your
a teenager,
career?
yeah.
You too,
Yeah.
Jay? Because I always, when people ask me, I always say, yeah. I really didn't do a lot of that stuff, to be honest. I mean, I was living in Thailand when I started bodybuilding. I said, the only massage you could get over there is a Sabai. It's like a body massage, you know what I'm saying? There's no ART and none of that stuff. So you guys literally did that all the time.
I was doing it every week, just because I've been introduced to it by some of the older cats when I was coming up as a teenager. So I was already, like I said, my body was, very healthy, muscled, and the separation was there, and I thought that would help Jay a lot, and Jay took me up on it. I didn't know he was gonna really do it like he did it, but being that Jay's a Leo, a fellow Leo like myself, you're gonna go pretty hard at whatever you're trying to focus on, and that's just characteristic of Jay Cutler.
Yeah. So Jay went on to win how many Arnolds? Let's not even talk about the Olympias now. Let's talk about the Arnolds first. You won 3 of them? 3?
I won 3, and they were all against Chris. Chris was second to me every time.
I know.
Yeah, it was cool though. You know what the funny thing is that
I remember. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
The first one, I was like, man, I thought I could get him, but then, even looking back at the photos, I was like, shit, he had me there. And then the second one, I was totally stressed out, man. I was lucky to be second, to be honest with you. I thought I probably could have been down to, third or fourth if I harshly judged it. But then I thought Jay really tried to he kind of overdieted, I felt, for 2004. And I felt that I hit it pretty close to being, at my max. So that's when I thought I'd probably get the nod, but it didn't happen. They said, when you hear that, it's a 1 point difference, like, oh shit, here we go. Damn it. I was like, I know this ain't gonna come my way.
Hey, 1 point is all it takes.
Yeah, for sure.
So Jay, how many you got? Did you get a Hummer every time with the win back then?
Yeah, I did. Just to go back though, Chris, you competed in 01, you got second to Coleman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I had the momentum in 01 from
the Olympia.
Remember I finished second to Coleman.
Yeah.
It was controversial.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I was rolling into 02, and obviously I had a lot of momentum. Was the new thing, right? So I think that definitely, I came in my biggest ever. I was like 273 that first one. And then, the second year it was, 03, I sat, I basically, I sat out 02. So I just prepared for the Arnold in 03. And that's, obviously Chris got, that might be that picture, Chris, behind you. Was that year or?
I think.
Was that the 04? It was 03 or 4. Maybe that was 02. That was 02, I think.
I think it was 02.
Yeah. So anyway, I won a Hummer truck in every one of those Arnolds, a watch, of course the check, $100K, but more importantly, the Arnold Classic title, which, as you guys know at the time, was solidified you as the second best show and the front runner for the Olympia. And Dennis, we battled it out in 03 was the year you came on strong. I remember, that was a lot of motivation for me, seeing you training at Gold's. You migrated, moved there, and started training for that. So, it's just cool to be able to have this roundtable discussion because, you guys were someone that always motivated me. Even though I was able to win the big one, right? We all strive to win the biggest show there is, and I look back now, and these were some of the best days that I never realized were there. Was watching Get Big and watching the boards, because there was no social media, and seeing. Dennis, you were the tank top Mr. Olympia for sure.
Where's my trophy? God damn it! Where's my trophy?
Where's my flowers, bro?
Yeah.
So Dennis, you might be the best tank top bodybuilder picture taker of all time.
I like to see Dennis against Aaron Baker in the tank top in Gold's Gym Venice in that posing mirror. That would be a
right next to the gate.
I want to see that.
Dude, Aaron Baker had the best hot skin combination ever, though.
You know what? To talk about Aaron Baker, I was a huge fan of his physique. The guy for me was almost perfect, you know, and I don't know why he never really, you know, did better than he did, because I thought that he had everything. What do you think held him back of winning bigger shows?
Dennis, I thought, you know, when he started to hit some of the poses, his body wouldn't come together in unison.
Really?
As that, I thought, you know, just talking to some of the judging and what they were looking for, you know, with the posing, because, you know, they have different criteria going through the years with different people, and that was always the knock on him, was how he presented everything. Although I did see him, he should have beat Flex in one of the Ironmans when he took second to Flex. He was harder. I know he was very disappointed, and it was just funny just looking back. Because me and you know, even though me and Rico was right there, you know, rooting for Flex, and we were sitting in the front row, and then you could hear the different cheers and the different boos in the audience that day. But you know, back then, you know, they judged the signature round and all that stuff, and it was, you know, Flex was ahead on that on every card, every show. So, you know, it was a little bit different when it comes to the judging and how they chose to use the criteria for and against different people.
Yeah, I thought he had an awesome physique. I have a question for Jay, and that's because 2001 you placed controversial second. I think that was a fucking unbelievable package. Just to put that out there. But then you placed, how many times did you get second to Ronnie?
Let's see. So
was it 4, 5 times?
I think 4 times, because I skipped 02, so 03, 4, and 5 and 01. Yeah, four times. Yeah. I mean, plus the European tour, so there's actually more. But as far as Olympia, yeah, 4 times.
But standing on stage in 2001, and I was right there. I was on stage with you guys, seeing the crowd reaction, you know, and then, you know, that had to change something in your mind, knowing I said, I'm going after him. I'm going to beat him next year. And then you got to go every year, and you still get second and second. Were you ever at a point where you said, you know what, maybe I just can't beat him?
No, because I was a little hard-headed, and you know, I got tired of like hearing Dexter and probably, you know, you behind the scenes. I'm never really, Chris never was actually too vocal, but Ronnie was unbeatable, right? Everyone kept saying Ronnie's unbeatable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys did that photo shoot, Dennis. I remember for Flex, you and Coleman. I think that was after the 01 Arnold, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I mean, you looked as big as he, but obviously he had the detail, you know. So, listen, from the back, he was just really hard to beat. But I was so happy to be in that second position, because remember, you know, being 1, 2, and being second to him is being second different from somebody else,
right.
You know.
Right.
Because he was such, you know, I mean, arguably, I don't know how you guys feel who's the greatest ever, Mr. Olympia, but I still view him as like the best ever, right, physique-wise. And I was just happy to be second. But yes, it gave me some confidence that I was like, wow, you know, I'm actually being compared, which for the first time in 99, when Chris got third and Ronnie won his second, I thought I actually would get compared. That's how crazy I was. I thought, hey, I'm 25. I'm coming in. And I thought, you know what, I'll get a follow, because I didn't know how it really worked, guys. Like, you know, I only had competed in, you know, a couple pro shows, and I was like, you know, I was so disappointed, because like 15 out of 16, I only got compared with like Pavel Jablonski and Jean-Pierre Fuchs, you know? So I was like, I never even got a call with any of the top guys.
Yeah.
And I was so devastated, and I sat in my hotel after, and I was with my wife and Chris Cicino. I'm like, am I just not good, you know? So I had that thought, and then of course, you know, that Chris, I think, is the time. That's when Chris Cormier approached me and was like, you know, you need to do this and this and this. I started working with Steve Murphy because I moved to California in '99 after that Olympia. And then I went and won the Night of Champions, like literally 6 months later. Dillette was in that show. He was my next door neighbor at the time. So I was like super motivated, but that's when I was seeing Steve Murphy. And listen, I hate to harp on like this massage thing, Dennis, because you don't really know it. Steve Murphy was a different beast. It was neuromuscular therapy he did. And he was so passionate because he was a bodybuilder himself. He had a great relationship with Chris, but he really, I went to 6 a.m. and saw him on my days off every week. And literally that transformed my physique. We all talk about the nutrition or the training or whatever else, but that type of therapy opened up my tissue. It allowed my muscle to be more reactive to the training, and it transformed my body. And I started getting more roundness and fullness. And listen, age was a factor too. I started to mature. And, you know, I was just landing second, man. It was unbelievable for me. I was just absolutely like, it was my dream. I never thought I'd be that good. And truthfully, I never thought I'd win the Olympia even up to that point. And then I realized for the first time when I got second to Coleman, like, damn, I can actually maybe win this thing. And I just held on. I mean, I never wanted to give up. I was making a great career. You know, financially, I was very successful with the contracts, endorsements, and that's really, you know, what gave me that idea. Okay, I can make a living. I never thought I'd make the kind of money I did in bodybuilding and be sponsored like I was and be as popular. I never imagined it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jay, you like I'm a super bodybuilding fan, student, whatever you can say. I lived it, loved it for so long, and I don't know. I mean, I didn't really take you under my wing, but I was eager to be like, man, Jay can be good, man. My artistic eye is like looking at your physique, and I'm like, man, I said, if his lats, you know, was wider, his chest popped more, the quad separation. And I know how Steve is with, working on the quads and everything. And you're right. That's one thing I think that people are sleeping on a little bit, even though it's out there. I put it out there many times. You put it out there many times, Jay. But having the right person, not everybody can do it, but some people are really good at it, and some people are very gifted. And you just got to find the right person to work with you and help you, and you got to stay consistently going.
Yeah.
Very good. But yes, it's funny because some of the great champions have all had a tip or two from another champion, and that sprung their career. Like with Ronnie, with hanging out with Flex, or Jay. I taught Jay a few things, even about the. I used to show Jay little photos on my phone and everything to hype him up, and take him to the sushi place. Here, Jay, you got to eat all this sushi, man. You got to get this deep tissue massage. I'm telling you, that type of thing. But I could say a lot of champions probably sprung, gave a little nudge in the right direction to a lot of champions, and we just go on. Even with Dexter, I've talked to Dexter many times on the tour, telling him different things you need to do or not do on the tour, on the flight, going over there once you get there, all that stuff. Yeah. But I love it, and I love the competition. So I wasn't like, I think that can help some of these newer guys come up in the sport.
But I'm glad you brought that up because, I felt the same. There's the guys back then when I came in and I was new, but I felt like, people did have advice for me. Certain things. Kevin, I remember the first time I met Kevin, he gave me an advice, and I just feel like I don't see it the way it was back then nowadays. It's not, there was a rivalry, but there's also a camaraderie because we had these tours, back then where we travel together to Europe, and be on the same flight, we go from country to country, and it felt like it was just much closer where you literally help each other out. I don't see that nowadays. What you guys think?
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I think the social media has definitely changed the aspect, but at the same time, you talk about these shows. I mean, look at Toronto Pro this past weekend. I mean, 7 guys in the show.
Yeah.
Like that show used to be packed up. I mean, New York Pro, which, Night of Champions back in the day, like there'd be 40 guys, they'd be hyping up some of these new guys coming in. You had 12 guys in the show. You know, guys wanted to compete. You know, that was the living. That was, you know, how you kind of built out those relationships. So obviously the travel is not there. And social media is kind of a strange thing, because I don't know if you guys experience this, but like you follow people, you watch something, and listen, we can come off different ways, but like I might be a fan of someone, say, oh, I like that guy, and then they put something out on social media, and it kind of changes my perspective a little bit, whether I want to follow them or not. And it kind of steers me off. And with the magazines, like we all had this mystique about us, right? They did these articles and they talk, like, I'm going to go back to like the Chris thing and how he, you know, he had his routine and whatever, and how dedicated he was. Like, that was inspiring to me. And, you know, when I got to know him, obviously he was a great person too. But, you know, we always were portrayed. Joe Weider really did a great job of making us all like have this aura. And I think social media now, you don't have that necessarily aura because you're your self-marketer, right? So I remember Joe saying, I'm never going to put out a bad picture of you, you know, and it was kind of true, right? But now, like, we see everyone on like that kind of level. So like there's certain people that we don't kind of mess with because it's kind of turn off a little bit. But I think, Dennis, like you're going back to like, oh, we did tours together, this and that. Like, where is that now?
Yeah.
Who's touring together? Who's traveling? I mean, listen, there's a lot of buddies, but they're social media buddies or whatever else. But those days are over. I mean, where they used to do all these tours and there was show after show and the top guys did the $10,000 contest. Like we talk about the Ironman and you'd have, you know, Flex and Cormier battling it out. Like those guys were top 5 Olympia caliber guys. You know, Night of Champions, when I did it, you know, Ronnie won, Kevin was second. You know, I was 11th in the show, but we had look at the top tier guys and they were fighting for a $10,000 prize. So
yeah.
It's kind of sad to see that a little bit.
You know,
people always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
You know, Jay and Dennis, that's one thing I think about myself. Is a lot of guys passing up a lot of shows, and I feel like they're going to regret that when they get older. I know they don't, in their mind, they're never going to get older. In their mind, they're invincible. They have tomorrow always. And the truth is, you don't always have tomorrow because you don't know when this thing is going to fall off. You don't know when the wheel's going to fall off this thing. You don't know how long you have. Something, you know, catastrophic might happen tomorrow. You don't have next year. You need to take that in consideration because, you know, I'm looking at some of these Ironmans and Jay, you know, I was dangerous on that Ironman stage. Why didn't I do it every year? Why not? I was doing Arnold Classic 10 times, did the Olympia 10 times. I should have kept going. I did the 4. I sat there in the audience and watched. I called up Dexter. He don't remember because he did so many shows. His memory is not this good. But I actually called up Dexter to say, hey, I'm not doing this Ironman. Come out here and do it. You'll win it. And then he actually came and won. And that was 2005. And then that actually gave him a little momentum. And judges saw him on that Ironman lights. And then they saw him. And then they, you know, nudged him ahead of me, and he beat me for the first time in Arnold Classic 2005. That was.
Oh, we lost him. Chris got that San Diego connection.
He probably had a call and he probably hit the wrong
Yeah. Chris used to be on the phone all the time. I remember that. And every time I saw Chris, it doesn't matter where it was, he was on his phone doing something, talking to someone. Jay. When you look at all your career highlights and all the physiques that you presented, and you had different physiques every now and then. If you would have to choose one particular year where you would say that was my absolute best, and I'm not counting now 2009, let's not talk about 2009 for a second. Other than 2009, what do you think was the best year you presented?
'01.
The best physique? '01, right? Because I think the same. I still, to this day, I look at videos every now and then I was like, fuck, because I was standing on stage, so I couldn't really see what you look like. But you know, when you stand in the lineup and you see somebody gets a call out and you're not, and you're standing there and you watch the call out, you'd be like, God damn, he's ripped.
Yeah.
I think that was, condition-wise, I think that was your absolute best.
Yeah, and the thing, Dennis, with that is like
There you go.
for the first time, I had detail like I never had, and you know, my midsection, like, you know, I was criticized through my career because I was a little wider in the midsection. You know, I had overdeveloped obliques, and I had to kind of offset that with the wider shoulders. And you know, you and I, our structures allowed us the big shoulders, right? And I just always, like, that was a big goal of mine, was to have kind of a flat midsection, and I had really sunken abs in that contest. And the truth be, like, looking back, and I was just thinking this as we were having this conversation, you know, things come to my mind, and I think even you, Chris, can attest, and Dennis, probably you, because you were, I consider you pretty aesthetic when you won the USA. You know, I thought you were, like, big, but not overly big, right? We all, except maybe Chris, I think, Chris, you're not in this boat, but I feel like I got too big. Does that make sense?
Oh, man, I totally feel you on that.
So I the one thing that I look back, and people always ask, what do you regret, or what would you change? And the truth is that I chased Ronnie for the size, because, you know, that's what it took to overcome. And then in '06 I won. But back in '01 and 2009, I remember just starving for the shows. Like, I would eat the meal and be like, damn, that's all I have.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, I remember '07, '08, '09, where it was like every meal was stuffing myself to the point where I just couldn't eat anymore, even during my prep. And looking back and reading, you know, about Chris and what he did, and I don't think he ate that kind of food. You know, we didn't require so much food, and it maybe because the times changed and bodybuilders just need to be bigger. But if I, like, looking at today's bodybuilding, you know, these guys just won't, like, oh, I got to bring my food, I got to do this, or I got to do that. Like, it's just so crazy, the amounts of food that everyone thinks they need to eat 300-400 grams of protein. And, you know, I was one of these guys, I had 1,000 grams of carbs. Yeah, when my metabolism was through the roof, but like, I could survive on 300-400 grams of protein too. And like, my body was great. So if you look at '01, what did it take for me to look like that? I dieted my ass off. I dieted my ass off. I stayed on a low-calorie diet because I honestly didn't do a lot of cardio for that show, because Chris Aceto was not a cardio guy. He thought it was counterproductive. So he's like, I'd rather you train twice a day with weights and do no cardio and keep the calories just restrictive enough to what you need. So let's take in the bigger meals around your training, which was twice a day plus the breakfast, and let's leave the cardio out. And it brought me the best balance there was. And then, of course, after that, I tried to get bigger because I'm like, oh, I got to be bigger. I got to be big. And I distorted my physique.
It's the same problem I went through. And you just basically just repeated what I said, the exact same words. I tried to chase Ronnie in size, and that was a huge mistake. Huge mistake. You know, and Dexter's the one that benefited from all of that. In my case, because I don't think Dexter is the kind of guy that can get as big as we got. Anyways, you know, Dexter's physique is just a little different, and I don't think, because he's not an eater. And if you're not a big eater, there's no way you can get that big. I don't care what people use. I don't care what they say. If you can't put the food in, there's no way you can get to that size and maintain that size. You know, so.
Right.
And that's why if you're a small eater, you'll probably benefit from not getting too big.
You think people are eating too much food these days?
I don't know. I know I did. And I know I did. And if somebody just has the same mentality that I had back then, thinking, oh, I got to get as big as possible. And at that moment, I didn't think that I'm going to blow my waist all the way out. I thought shit's just going to look the same, just much bigger.
Just gonna go to your pecs and your shoulders.
I
and your legs.
didn't know. I you know, at that point, I was still new to this. You know, I started training back in 1992. You know, I competed the first time in '93.
That's so crazy to me, man.
Yeah, and I had no idea. I don't even know what I was doing. You know, so when I turned pro in '98, everything was still. If I could turn it back right now, I would like right there, couple of more pounds, and that's it. And just get as peeled as possible. Listen, I beat Melvin Anthony in '98 at the USA's. It was my first USA's. Melvin Anthony been on the USA stage for years. So everybody knew he was coming, so he was the favorite going into the show. I beat him, not because I was somebody they knew, you know, I guess I was just better that day. You know, even though when we talked about it with Flex, that Flex tried to sabotage the judges.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so, but that's when people ask me the same as Jay just mentioned. When people ask me if you could turn back the time, what would you change? I said I would not chase anybody. I would just stay, because I remember I had a tiny waist. I remember the times when I started bodybuilding and my waist was one of my strong parts, actually. You know, flaring quads, it was all there. But at the end of the day, you know, it's too late now. So I blew up. I blew up all the way.
Man.
Chris never Chris, your career kind of got cut short, I feel, right? I mean, you had the injury and whatever, and that's when you called it, right?
It's a what?
Your career kind of got cut a little shorter than what you wanted it to with the injury, right?
Yeah, I was banking on going on to bigger things, and I was just like, okay. I came in 2005 at the San Francisco show, and I was able to beat everyone from the Arnold Classic coming over from the Arnold Classic there in 2005. And I'm like, okay, I come out with my Tupac music with the 50 Cent, and I'm like, I'm back. I'm about ready to do this thing, and I was looking to get one of those Olympia titles. I was just going to go over to train with Dorian, and then I'm over in New Jersey, just waiting to take the next flight to go to England, and that's when I started experiencing some crazy back pain, lower back pain. But I've been dealing with back pain for a long time, since I was a teenager. So I was thinking, okay, this is another day. Just gonna ice it a little bit before I go to the gym. And Bo Basin, I was standing there with him, and I was training at his house, the gym up there in Hackettstown, New Jersey. And then I got to the point where I couldn't even move. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm calling Bo, and I'm like, hey, I can't get off the floor, man. You gotta come and help me up. I can't even use the bathroom. And so he was taking his time. I called him like an hour later. He's still at the store where he was working, his nutrition store. And then I say, hey, man, you got to come now. Like, I can't get up at all. And then he came, and then he was like, yeah, maybe I should call the ambulance. I was like, no, don't call the ambulance. Don't call it. Just try to figure it out. Next thing you know, it got so painful. I was begging for him to call the ambulance. I was begging for, let's go to the hospital and check this out. And, I had a spinal infection. I was in, I didn't know that at the time. We didn't know that for a little while later. I ended up in so much pain that I was hallucinating. I was seeing people who wasn't there. I was talking to people who wasn't there. And next thing you know, I was just out. And then I woke up, and they said it was like a month and a half later from me going into the hospital in an induced coma. But it was. I'm still thinking I'm doing Olympia. I'm still thinking, wondering what happened in the UFC. I'm, just trying to get caught up on what happened. I thought I was in there for like 3 days or so, but when they said it was like a month and a half,
you were in a coma for
like,
a month and a half? I didn't even know.
Month and a half, dude. I didn't know. I was totally out for a month and a half. So, my whole face full of hair. I'm 60 pounds lighter from when I went to sleep. And yeah, man, all I could do was just like, I was still thinking I'll be able to compete. And then they was just like, let me know how long I've been there, how long I've been asleep. And no, Chris, you're not doing Olympia this year. And that just broke me down, man. I was just, I don't know. I was feeling like there's no reason to live type of feeling. It was so crazy. And I actually wanted to leave the hospital and made them release me. And I went to a local hotel and for like 5 days. And, believe it or not, the doctor came to the hotel checking on me every day. And then they talked me into getting back into the hotel. I didn't know I was in danger of losing my life, or I would have never left the hospital. But at the time, like I said, I didn't realize how serious it was. And, when you're feeling invincible and you're feeling so, amazingly strong, like how would you think something can take your life? Staph infection, that type of thing, that can totally take your life within days, let alone what I went through. So, yeah, like I say, and I tried to come back. I actually got over there to Dorian and worked with him and just seeing what I had left. But at the time I was 43. It was just riding on fumes at that time, and didn't have another day. That's why I say, people think they have tomorrow, and they just don't. Sometimes you just don't have tomorrow.
That's crazy. I didn't know you were in a coma for that long.
Yeah, bro. It
Wow.
was bad.
Wow. Jay, do you have any other than your biceps tear back then? Do you have any injuries that you had to deal with?
Yeah, actually my tricep. So when I was in Australia, and that's another thing. So many freaky things can happen. I was just hanging, stretching my lats. You hang. A lot of people just hang and stretch your lats on a pull-up bar, and I started to feel like some burning in my tricep, and that right there, my tricep was starting to tear. But I let go. I was able to nurse it back to health. But it was still weakened in that area. So when I was coming back to try to get back on the stage after nearly dying, Muscle Tech was pushing for me to get back on stage to save my contract. I was losing contracts every other week or so when I was in the hospital. So that was, that was hard, but I was trying to push on. I still thought I had a sluggish chance to get back into the game. And so I said, okay, let's just push it, try to get back on stage. My son was living in Colorado at the time. So I went to go visit him because last time I spoke to him, I was really crazy. I was out of my mind in the hospital, and he was probably didn't know what to think at his age. So he totally we were doing little stuff together, riding bikes. We went on the BMX track. I used to race BMX, so I'm like, okay, let's go, son, let's go do that. And then so we're riding around the track, everything's fine. Just about to leave, so let me ride one more time around the track. And then when I rode around the track, I'd hit this tabletop. And back in my day, I was able to screw back off my seat. I had a little GT Pro, go up, go down. When I did that, I was on someone else's bike, so I didn't know the bike very well. It was a lot taller than my bike, so it was a mountain bike actually. So I went up and I went to scoop back on the seat, like my normal reaction to me going up a tabletop jump. And I went up and I came down and I hit the lip of the tabletop. And then I had a few seconds to think, how can I fall and make this and not get hurt?
Make this work.
Should I give it? Yeah. Should I give him my shoulder? Should I give him my elbow? What should I give it?
Don't give him the head.
What can I afford to give up? I wish I would have just held on, because then I thought I was gonna fall and roll out of it. Might as well. And there went my tricep on my way to my comeback to the stage. And what did I do? I should have just kept my head together. But being all those days, which was under doctor's guidance for 6 months, I felt suicidal. I was like, there's no way I'm going back to a hospital. I can't. I just couldn't mentally. And so when I got my head together, I just pulled a Dorian style, and I just like, I'm just gonna go for it. And I just start icing my elbow in an ice chest. And we got an X-ray on it. The bone was chipped off in my elbow. I think I saw you, Jay, in Venice shortly when I was mending up from that, and I was just wearing a sock over it. But I just wrapped it up and just kept pushing for the show, and just worked through it, and still trained for the show. And then, it was affecting me mentally, because now pose is going to change. I don't have the same mentality behind my presentation. Trying to save myself, my career and my contract. And I end up, they said, Chris, you make it back to Olympia, then everything will continue on as it is. The money you'll be getting, everything will be the same. End up taking fourth in Canada, which was, it was disappointing. I felt like they kind of judged me as I used to look, as I've always looked, and seemed that I was considerably off. They're not taking consideration. I just almost died. I tore my tricep. All these things are contributing to me not looking. Are you looking for 99, Chris? Are you looking for 2004 or 5, Chris? Like, but if you judge me on that and not just what you're looking at on the thing, then that's going to play with your mind. You're human, and human beings are going to judge, partially on how you look before and how you look now. Yeah. So all those things played a part in me, my demise.
Jay, you had to train through an injury at one point. What year was that? The Olympia, where you came in with a torn?
Yeah, I tore my bicep for the year Phil Heath won 2011. I tore it probably 3 weeks out doing a photo shoot. I tore the upper bicep, so it detached, but I thought it was just a strain. I didn't realize until I got down and drained the water. Of course, the black and blues came, a week and a half after, and I competed. It was very painful. I went to India a week after, and that was really painful to keep posing on it. I actually didn't have surgery, so the Olympia was in September. I didn't have it till February the next year of 2012, because I had so many guest appearances. At the time, we were guest posing almost every week, so I didn't want to have to give up and disappoint people, because I was still able to function on it. Mm-hmm. It was just a little painful. I knew it was a partial tear, probably. So when I got the MRI done, they said, yeah, you have a full tear. I didn't ever realize you could tear the upper. I never thought that we only saw the lower bicep injuries. And I had the surgery done in February of 2012. I sat out 12, and then I came back in 13. But, I was a shadow of what I really was. I mean, it was probably one of my best Olympias. If you asked me, like, I was kind of back to being a little smaller, and that was a little easier for me. I thought I was in good condition, but I just got outmatched. I got outmatched, and that was Big Ramy's year. He first came on. That was 2013. So he finished behind me, which was kind of crazy. Him and Rolly, I thought, probably could have beat me. I was 6th. They were 7th and 8th. And of course, Phil was great that year, right? Mm-hmm. But that was the only injuries. And, once again, I attribute to all the tissue work, the stretching. I always tried to take care of my body. I was a clean eater most of the time. I stayed pretty hydrated. I trained pretty much the same from day one to this day still, with more volume. I never really went max weights. With everything I picked up, I could do for 8 repetitions, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Awesome. So I got a question for both of you guys, because we see all the stuff that's been going on right now, and all the talk about what a Mr. Olympia, is supposed to do. So now, Jay, you are, and not only in my eyes, but probably in everybody's eyes, the poster boy for being a Mr. Olympia, being an ambassador for the sport, and representing not only the sport, but also the federation and every single bodybuilder on this planet. Now, how hard is it to be Mr. Olympia and do the job that a Mr. Olympia has? Or what do you think is a Mr. Olympia's responsibility?
I always had, that was always kind of it was kind of an awkward space for a lot of people, because, people view Mr. Olympia as, hey, go win the title. that means you're Mr. Olympia, but representation was never part of that task, right? For me, I love bodybuilding. I'm passionate about bodybuilding. I follow it. I've always loved it. From 12 years old, I loved bodybuilding after seeing Chris Dickerson. So I guess for me, it was kind of easy just showing up at places and enjoying being around, kind of that space. And I feel like, yes, you now have something on your shoulders where you need to carry that crown and show up at places. You need to shake the hands. You need to motivate people, which you should do anyway, being someone with a platform that you're visible to do that. And all of us have done that. And luckily, I have won the Olympia, right? But I never had to try extra hard. Patience is definitely something you need. You definitely have to have a lot of patience, because we all know, like, we get into a space and we're very crowded with people. Sometimes we're almost like caged animals, I feel like. And we get a lot of the repetitive questions that I see. Dennis, you do your lives every day, and you ask these people, and some of them are pretty funny to me, because you're just straightforward with these people. Like, you just go right in. There's no filter, and you're like,
That's the German in me. It's, yeah.
I know, but like, that's the answer I want to give sometimes, but I have to reserve that. Does
Yeah,
that make
you
sense?
can't be like, yeah, Jay's never like that. And I can see, yeah, I say it for you, Jay.
So, yeah, but that's you have to kind of know how to talk to people, how to put yourself in this. But, if you talk about, like, listen, I'll go in and say, Big Ramy's Mr. Olympia, but no one ever sees him. His social media is inactive. Like, when you win that title, like, you got to come over. He should have. If I was Big Ramy, I would say, okay, I'm going to plan an American tour, and I'm going, because COVID's over, right?
Right.
I would set up a letter. It's a month or two. He has that availability. Do it. Do your tour. Do your speaking. He speaks good English now. I mean, he should be part of it. That's a mistake. I think a Mr. Olympia should travel. They should be representative. They should be at the major events. I mean, Chris and I were in Pittsburgh at Jim's show. I mean, those are all things that are part of this. Certain events you should be at Arnold Classic. I mean, obviously, Jim Manion's show when you're, that level. There's certain events that need to happen, and that's my thought process on it.
But how hard? But how, yeah. So it's easy for you because you were doing all that before you even won the Olympia, so you were already in that groove.
I could have been a better bodybuilder if I stayed home, Dennis. 100%.
Do you think so?
But I traveled, and because I was probably, if you said, Jay, what was the most comfortable point of your bodybuilding career? It was definitely 98, 99, 2000, 2001. After 2001, my life got crazy with the guest appearances, and it was really hard for me to refuse the work. Because obviously I saw Ronnie doing it too, but at the same time, like, I just, obviously it was a great revenue stream for me. And it was relationships. And I really think to this day, success is built off relationships and interacting with people and becoming, aware of outside things that might not be in your wheelhouse that you were brought up in. And that's why, like, I'm glad I did it, but could I have been a better bodybuilder if I did the Dorian Yates style, stay home and train and focus? Yes, 100%. But remember, I wasn't fighting for 400K. I never won 400K. It's a big paycheck. I got 155 my first one. I went up to 200, which is still a lot. I mean, back in the era, like, Dorian was getting 100 and Ronnie was getting 100. So, like, that's a big paycheck, 400K. I mean, I'd be fighting for that title for sure right now.
Hey, Jay, so do you think Ramy needs like a strong competitor, rivalry type competitor, to help boost his enthusiasm, his interaction with the sport?
You know what? I just don't know how much Ramy has left. What his plan is. I mean, there's no I mean, Brandon, I felt pushed him pretty hard last year, but I mean, there's no buildup of like, I don't know. I don't know if looking at these top five, if you can say, well, any one of them could interchange and be first place. I don't know what your opinion is, and I'll be 100% transparent. I mean, Hottie's good, but can he be Mr. Olympia? Can Nick Walker win it? You know, can Hunter win it? I mean, those guys all need a little tweaking in order to be the best. And Ramy needs to come in at like his all-time best this year to win it, in my opinion. Like if he's like last year, he doesn't win.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone's steps up enough, that's how I feel.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I told him last year, 5 minutes after the Olympia, that if you come in like this next year, you are not going to win the Olympia. And he knows it. It's not something that he's not aware of. He's totally aware of what went wrong last year.
And we don't have control of that, guys. Like we think
Right.
we're going to be our all-time best going into every show.
Right.
And things happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but he knows. So but Chris, you were just about to say something. Did I cut you off?
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
That's what?
Were you just about to say something?
Yeah. I was going to say, Jay, when you were, obviously, your physique was in a decline a little bit. You still had another big swing in you, as you shown. You got beat by Dexter. I was planning to beat you when Dexter beat you, but Dexter beat you. But I felt like, I don't know, the crowd was restless for some new blood up there or someone else to take the title. They were, it wasn't the same crazy, following for a hot minute around this time. Dexter ended up beating you. I was there to witness it. But I feel like since Dexter won that show, you were like beating the drum like a war cry, like the whole year long.
Yeah.
And you turned that whole arena almost like against Dexter. I felt like I was there and I just saw the mentality behind what you were doing the whole year. I'm an ambassador of the sport and the people's champ. I'm gonna cut my hair off if I don't win this show, and I'm gonna, all this stuff. Like, was that planned, or what was behind that? And I never got a chance to even ask you about that, because I was just, like I said, I was just a fan watching everything and observing everything and everyone's mentality leading up to the show. But it was not hardly only Dexter's family was clapping for Dexter at that last show, and you took the title back. Can you revisit that?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was off. Yeah, I was on a decline. Maybe it was lack of motivation. I mean, Ronnie was gone. I was trying to figure out what to do with my physique. When Ronnie disappeared, I looked at, okay, who's my challenger? And it was always someone new every year. Like, every time I was second to Ronnie, everyone was vying to get to that second place, and that was including both of you guys. Like, I went through the Gunter hype, and I went through Gustavo Bedell hype, and then, of course, Dex, all these guys, right? New faces coming in. And then, I linked up with Hani Rambod in around January of 2009. We sat down. I was really down, guys. Like, in 08 when I lost, like, I was like, damn, like, I'm going to go out like this, because I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out what to do with my body. And, I was close with Phil Heath at the time, and Phil was staying with me a lot. And, he was very, of course, close with Hani. And I think Hani gave me a lot of confidence, not to say he didn't tell me you can come back and win this, but he just said, I think you can get your physique back. And, back to form, and what are you doing? And he kind of reevaluated stuff, and he kind of like worked alongside as like kind of like a just more of a confidence booster. And I just went back to doing that off-season thing. And Chris, you know, at the time, I mean, I was like a muscle tech guy, like the head guy. I mean, we were on the same team, and I was just like doing my thing. I mean, I was popular. I had already built the whole Ronnie rivalry thing because I was second to him. It helped my career a lot, and I just had more confidence that I could come in and win it. And you know, I changed my hairstyle and you know, came on stage, and I never realized how good I actually looked till I walked out, and I could tell the crowd reaction at that moment, and the iconic quad stomp, right?
Yeah,
that was literally like now, you know, I went through all the mandatory front double, you know, side chest, all that stuff, and I got to the crowd was already going crazy, so like, okay, I'm on, you know, and that's when I hit the quad stomp. And listen, it was the greatest bodybuilding moment probably of my life. It kind of gives me goosebumps as I talk about it, because it was like, damn, you know, I was able to come back, and I really, you know, I'll tell you guys, I should have quit then. I should have just retired, because you're never going to reach that peak again.
Yeah.
That was as much as anyone could love you. The physique was just like, I was 37. It wasn't going to get better. And, you know, I know Dexter always said, well, I was better at 40, at 42, but I look back at some of the pictures of Dexter when he came on at the same time as me. He was unbelievable, round and everything else. I just don't think you get better at 40. And I don't know what your opinion, guys, is on that. But I had to, you know, remember I was training since the time I was 18. When you start younger, your body does start to break down into certain ages, I believe, especially when you went up and got huge like I did, way bigger than my frame probably needed to be. And now I was trying to even off my body, and I nailed it that day. 2010 wasn't the same. And then of course 11, I tore the bicep, and you know, Phil Heath was coming on. My body was changed by then, you know, so it was huge for me. I mean, the quad stomp is iconic now. It's what all these youngsters come up and they're like, you're the guy with the leg, you know, and do all that stuff.
That was a classic game over moment right there. That's, you know, and this happened, I can remember, I definitely remember Ronnie in 2003, but Jay in 2009, you came out for your mandatories and the show was over. Even though they didn't have to see anybody else, after that, it was over. It was over. It was one of those moments where you say, God damn. You know, just like Ronnie back in 2003, I remember when Ronnie stepped out on stage and the crowd reaction was unbelievable. He didn't even come down the stairs yet. You know, it's probably similar to the same moment. And you were there in 2003. So what did you feel like when you heard the crowd reaction for Ronnie in 2003?
I wasn't that. I was in the same, it was he and I in the same pump-up room, and I was like,
yeah, Ronnie in the pumper room is something to see.
I just remember we just did a photo shoot at Milos's gym like a month and a half, 2 months prior. And, you know, Ronnie was big, and, you know, off season Ronnie was big, but like for him to come in and it's like he didn't lose, it's like he got bigger and lean at the same time. And, you know, I remember thinking, fuck, how am I going to expose him? You know, and I'm like, and, you know, I was so like, Dennis, I'll be honest, I was like, I'm winning this 03. I had the momentum. Like, it was the Gunter hype. You know, he had beaten Ronnie in 02. Ronnie was small in 02, like 02. We talk about Chris when I came in 04, smaller, like, you know, man, like Ronnie was on the ropes in 2002. Like, you would expect anyone to come in and beat him the next year. And when I was backstage with him and he took his clothes off, I actually said, oh shit, you know?
Yeah. So it's like, I remember standing backstage and Kevin saying the same. Kevin, we looked at him from behind, his shit was just hanging off of him.
But you know what, Dennis, but I was concerned about how you looked too, because you looked unbelievable leading up to that show.
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, okay, this guy's going to be dangerous. And I was honestly more concerned. I probably was more concerned about you than I was him, to be honest.
Really? For 2003?
In 2003, because you were Tank Talk Mr. Olympia at Gold's Venice.
It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. But yeah, listen. Hey, things happen and things not always go as as planned. And that's
Yeah, but
bodybuilding.
you looked great, man. Like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about '03? Let me ask you.
I felt '03 I felt great all the way to the show. I felt
Was
great.
that your best?
I think so. Yeah. I think I was also 2004 was also a good year, but I just didn't get that look. Because sometimes when it happens. You just I don't want to say you get overlooked, but you don't get the look that you could have gotten where they could have called you and put you next to someone where you can really see how good you really are. Because sometimes standing there, and that's something that you did always great, Jay. You in the lineup, you stood in the lineup, your shit was tight. And a lot of people, and I was one of them, made a mistake when you stand back in the lineup, we just let go, and they forget that the judges are still looking, even though you stand in the back.
Let me just ask you, though, did you go into '03 say with all the hype, because I know you had a lot of people around you, did you think you were going to win in '03?
I don't, you know what? I was at a point where I didn't think I was going to win. No, I didn't. But I thought I was definitely going to be in the top six. That was my goal, to make the top six.
Did you think you were going to beat me, or?
No, not really. Not really. I can't. Well, listen, that would have been the plan. I mean, the plan was to beat everybody as many people as possible.
But was there someone you wanted?
I'm trying to.
Did you want to? Did you you honed in on I'm going to beat this guy?
No, you know why? Because I haven't been in the top 5 or top 6 before. Once you get in there, now you think a little different. I said, okay, now I'm here. Now I'm trying to beat some ass, But for me, my goal was first to get up in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So and when we did the back then we still had the symmetry round.
Yeah.
And I remember I made the first call out. I was like, you know what? For me that changed my whole fucking thing. I was like, I'm in the first call out. And the symmetry round. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make first call out in the muscularity round, because back then it was a little different.
Yeah.
But when I made first call out in the muscularity round, now it was up here, man. That's like, I didn't even know how to explain how I felt. And I didn't really care where I'm going to place. I knew at that point I am in the first call out and I'm going to be in the top somewhere, So that didn't change nothing, but that changed for 2004. 2004, I thought a little bit different, because now I said, listen, now I'm here. Now I'm going for the kill. But, what shit happened, and now I went back out. You got to go back out. You got to stand back in line. Those are the things that happen. Looking at the Olympia this year, we saw all the guys guest post in Pittsburgh. So this is who we have. So this is the guys we have to work with right now. So who is the biggest threat to the throne when you see the guys preparing for this year's Olympia? You look at Brandon Curry, who was probably, for me, and I'm saying this with all due respect, the least impressive one in Pittsburgh. And that's probably because he just won the Arnold and he probably just relaxed and not even training and eating and stuff. So, but then look at the guys like Nick Walker and Hunter Labrada in crazy condition. I mean, for off season, that's bodybuilding in my eyes. That's what you want to look like if you can, all through your off season. So, but if you look at these guys, Jay, who do you think is the biggest threat to the throne?
Brandon
still, right?
Yeah, you want to know why? Because he's number one, he's been there. Number two, he knows the package. Dude, he was off training and probably not doing what he did. He's still got the shape. When Brandon's in shape, he's got the proportions. I just, for some reason, I just think he's still dangerous. I know he wasn't as impressive. I know Walker was 5th last year. Hunter's definitely on the come up. If he's in better condition, he's definitely going to move up. Him and Nick are probably going to be back to back. But we're missing Chupin. Listen, Bonnick's been in second before. He wasn't there. There's guys that it falls into myself and Ronnie moved up from like the back of the pack, so there could be someone that we're not even talking about. I mean, this Lunsford guy is the real deal. No,
Right.
if you ask me who I was most impressed with, for sure Lunsford, because I hadn't seen that before. Like I never saw him guest pose like that. I saw him in the gym that day, and he's got the width, but he's got separation that, and he's young enough where I think he's very dangerous. And if he does the open, I mean, I wouldn't sleep on this guy either, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would probably say it's Brandon's show coming in and, pushing Ramy last year. It was a close call. And Chris, I'd like to hear your take on it. And of course, Dennis, you tell me how you feel.
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I just saw Derek with a lot of great proportions up there posing, and I was standing next to Jay, and we was like looking at each other like, damn, like this kid can do something in the future, And I was standing next to you also, Dennis, and yeah, and like you say, Labrada looked great up there. Walker had some good mass going. I mean, I don't know. I would just like to see, I don't know. I just think there is a limit to where you don't look as great when you try to get as big as possible. Are you just looking as big as possible? Or are you artistically putting your body together? I think that's can be, a feather in a bodybuilder's cap, is to understand what is your cap space with your body weight, and with what package you're going to bring to the table when you go to compete. Curry, like you say, a little off, probably has some downtime or whatever, but he's going to pick it up. He's a hard worker. He goes away from his family. He does the whole thing in Kuwait. So yeah, it was a good group of guys up there. And also, some of the other guys looking to move into the top 10. I was able to see the California State Championships for bodybuilding, and Charles Griffin was. I know he's got an unorthodox style. It's not the most pleasing structure for bodybuilding, but I was just sitting in the dressing room with these guys. I was quiet. I was a little hungry. I got a little muffin from one of the guys. Got me some chips from another guy because I didn't have nothing to eat before I went to the prejudging. But just observing the guys getting ready for that cow, Griffin was so hungry, man. He was just like, I was asking him little questions here and there, but he had headphones on. He was all pumped up. I was just like, I thought he was going to win just because of his attitude backstage. He's like, he wanted to pose. He wanted to get out there. He was just like chomping at the bits type of thing, even in the dressing room. And, Tony Barton, he's someone that's coming up, smaller guy. But all these guys are going to be trying to get into that Olympia, probably trying to push to that top 10 area, 8 area, something like that. I just thought it was, be notable to mention those guys also.
Yeah, I feel you. I agree with Jay. Brandon is absolutely the biggest threat because he has the experience, and he turns it around. His body is when he's in shape, his body is just, I don't know, it just stands out when it comes to the total physique. Even though everybody has flaws, I don't think there's anybody on that stage without flaws. And we can go all the way up to Ramy and find flaws. So therefore, and I think Brandon is the one that probably stands out the most, And then and I also agree with you, Jay. Derek, I think Derek should do the Open. I think he should literally qualify for the Open and do the Open Olympia, because I think he has just as good a chance as placing in the top 3 in the Open. Then he can, then winning the 212, and even you look at the prize money, where there's more money in the Open than in the 212. So I don't know. I heard something. I'm not sure if it's rumors, if it's true or not, that he want to do the Open. He want to compete in the Open this year. Is that true? Is there any truth to that?
I don't know. I mean, I think he had told me honestly that he, of course, wants to defend 212, but I agree with you. I mean, I think it's going to come down to, let's see how his body starts coming together as he gets into August and September, see where he's at. I mean, remember, Hani keeps his food way down. At the time, he was only, for that guest posing, he was on 150 grams of carbs a day. So think about if he actually ate. He's just, he was definitely over 250 pounds. I don't know how much over, but
I think he was 260. I think he said 260.
Unbelievable, though. Unbelievable. But, once again, I mean, it's anyone's, see, people can surprise us. But look at the track record of Brandon before I finish off. Look, he's been second or first for how many? I mean, he's won Arnold, second, first. He has the best track record. How are you going to not put him as a contender, right?
Right.
I mean, he's been right there. He's either won it or been second for a few years. So, that's nothing against the other guys. I think Walker's got a great future. I think Hunter does. Those are going to be the top guys here in the future. I mean, they're both pretty young guys, and, let's see how they land.
Yeah. Top 5 back in let's say the early 2000s or late 90s. But if you put them on stage now, will they still be top 5?
Yeah, because of the detail.
Yeah. What do you think it is, though? What do you think? What's the reason?
It's the food, bro. It's the food.
It's the food.
Right, Chris?
I mean, I think.
I mean, what about the cheat meals?
I think that's.
What about
go ahead.
What about the cheat meals? That I never had cheat meals.
I know. that became a thing in the 2000s, after the 2000s. But I don't, like I said, I wait a long time before I'd have something. I wait till I'm really good and crazy in the head before I had a little something. And when I did that, I would go from 10 to like 2 weeks out, not having any cheat meal. Then I have like a piece of pizza or something like that, a little piece of cake, and then I'd feel guilty getting in the gym and go crazy 2-3 times a day until I lost the water from what I ate, and then I'd go into the show nice and happy and relaxed. But yeah, I mean, I'm talking once or twice once I started really getting into it. I won't cheat at all.
But Chris, you train a lot of guys now. Do they train different from the way we used to train, or some of the guys used to train back in the days?
Do I train different?
No, the newer guys nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Because can it be only the food only, that these guys don't come in as peeled as the guys back in the days?
I think the style today is to be as big as possible. So you're pushing your insulin factor, you're pushing everything to be as big as possible. And I don't know how that's going to affect your body when it comes to the shape, the detail work that's involved. I mean, I know I was doing abs every day or every other day, the whole year round. I don't know if that's still being done, like stuff like that. The posing, we always talk about, people practicing the posing. I think people still wait until the last minute to start on some type of posing that's going to get you ready for the show. You're gonna bleed off a lot of water that you're gonna subcutaneous water and everything when you pose so much. Even the night leading up to the show, you can also get in better condition by really dialing in some posing for a number of time.
True.
On a daily basis or so.
Jay, go ahead. You want to say something?
But it's got to be a few of those different things.
All right, Jay, go ahead.
Training twice a day was a big plus for me, and I think we all did it, right? You did it in Thailand. Chris, you did it. I know. I don't think anyone today trains twice a day. I don't know any. Maybe Dennis, you can tell me because you know what the pros do, and Chris, I don't know.
No, I don't know anybody that trains. To be honest, I don't know anybody that trains twice a day.
Is it net? It does it help though? Do you think it's?
No, it's. I think it's. Yeah, well, it's going backwards. It's going backwards, and it gets worse. And I'm not knocking on. This is with all due respect to the guys. I appreciate what they're doing. I know how hard it is, But when I compare, and they're getting compared to the guys back in the days, and and just what we said earlier. We said, we made a mistake chasing Ronnie. So now I have a feeling that some of these guys thinking they have to chase Ramy, which is a huge mistake.
Yeah.
There's nobody on this roster right now that has, that can be the size of Ramy. Not in the next year or two, So, and I think trying to be as big as possible just to stand next to him and look great. Look at Hardy last year. Hardy was the most conditioned guy. I mean, arguably, I think he was the most conditioned guy on that stage. And you saw the reaction of the crowd. They appreciate you coming in peeled because, most people, know what it takes to get there. Does he have the body to beat Ramy? Probably not, unless Ramy's really off. And the same with Brandon. I mean, they got to be off for him to slide by, and that's why I agree with what you said, Jay, earlier. That he's great, he's absolutely great, but he needs these guys to be off for him to slide up in there. But I think that they just need to focus on condition more and stop worrying about size, because it would be for me something just great to look at, to see the top 6 all super peeled, where now we really have a competition where we can really judge and give the judges something to work with.
And in all fairness, Dennis, we were a victim of the same thing.
Right.
Like, we thought we needed to be bigger. So
right.
We're not. What you're saying is nothing like. I know some guys would take offense to it, but listen, I clearly state I got too big. I tried to come in many times too big, and that's what kept me from being my best, where I can say, okay, I was my best in 01, not
right.
01, 2, 3. You know what I mean? It
Right.
wasn't every single year, right?
Right. Feel the same way. Chris?
Yeah.
Did you ever get too big?
I think, and then also, that's the thing, coming in too small or too big, that's always on the bodybuilder's mind. Jay, like, even going back to 2004, like, you probably wanted to win as bad as I did. I know we were thinking about each other going into that show again. Do you feel like that? I remember we had a little talk after the show in the airport. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember that, Jay?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And we were like looking at each other like, man, like, he was like, damn.
Yeah. Well,
but I was like, what do you think, Jay? I don't know exactly what you were thinking, but it sounded like to me you were like, man, I don't judge this thing, Chris. I know you look great out there, and man, it's like, you could have had it. Like, I feel like that was what you were telling me.
I remember back then there was no social media. It was all in the magazines. I remember Chris complaining in the magazine, thinking that he had a Jay somewhere. I can't quote it, but I remember Jay coming back and saying something.
Why do you say complaining?
Not complaining, but Chris just voicing your opinion. Let me say it this way.
I know, I'm messing
and you're
with
voicing your opinion, and I don't feel you. If you play second every damn time, I know how you feel. But then I remember Jay saying something similar to, wait, I might just think about doing another one next year or something similar to that. Do you remember that, Jay?
Yeah, and listen, man, the magazines will twist things a little bit. That was what was cool about the books. But I definitely respect, I can sit back now and I'm not competitive. So, like, Chris is my guy, like, I have so much respect for him, man. Like, I think you can tell. I mean, Chris, you've heard a lot of interviews I've done, and, like, he made me great. He made me great. Like, there's no one, probably him the most, between him and Ronnie are the top guys that made me as great as I was. And, I owe a lot of credit to that. So I feel bad. I feel bad. I'm looking at the Arnold trophies over here, and Chris is like,
give him one. Just give him one.
I got a spot for it right here, Jay. Look.
you said right there.
I see the massage table there,
Right next to the banner, right, Chris?
You don't even need it. Shit. You got those sandals?
Do you have it all put together still?
Yeah, it's all here. Yeah, the sandals are here.
Yeah.
Look at those damn things.
Look at that.
I had a fifth mantle, fifth podium for my fifth Olympia title that Phil Heath has. So.
Oh, so you prepped your office already for the fifth one.
I was very arrogant, and I built. I'll be honest. I got pretty cocky as the years went on, and I had a box and everything for it. And now,
but I gotta say, because I'm glad you mentioned it. You're saying it yourself, but it didn't come across. You never came across as cocky ever. So you did a great job, Jay.
Overconfident because I'm looking at a gold box that contains silver sand metals. So that's not good. That wasn't the point, you know.
Bro, I appreciate you all, man. Jay, thank you guys, Chris and Jay, for coming on. Unfortunately, Kevin Lerone, for whatever reason, he didn't make it. I can't wait for this to air because there's a lot of information that people need to hear, I think.
Well, let's do
thanks,
it again.
Dennis.
Yeah, let's do it again sometime, and let's get Kevin on there.
Yeah.
He was an inspiration.
All right, Jay. I got to get out there to Vegas too, man. I want to go check out that trophy and check out your setup over there.
Yeah,
on the podcast.
I'll be in San Diego on the 18th, Chris, so I'll look you up.
All right, my brother.
All right, guys. Take care, man. You all be safe.
Thank you,
Take
sir.
care,
All right,
brother.
bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye, guys.